Hey man, I'm about to learn how to make some beats, man. What up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Wavy Wayne from wavywayne.com, and I'm here with a special guest today. Man, we got produced by Cato on the track, the man with all the heat. He is literally one of the most viral producers in the world. Cato, say what's up real quick, man.
Hey man, what's going on?
He hit me with the hey man. I'm like, hey man, I need that green hat, man. Like, you know,
I got you.
We got the movement. Overnight success is 10 years in the making. We're gonna dive into that in a minute. But for anybody who don't know, I just gotta kind of go over some of Cato's accolades, because my man is huge. He's making huge waves, not just on the internet, but on Billboard charts and everywhere that you consume music, man. So just a little bit about Cato. He is, like I said, a 5-time Billboard charting music producer, entrepreneur, and educator with over a decade. That's that 10 years in the making, yes, right? Sir. Over a decade of experience. Definitely one of the most viral producers. And I was looking at your information on your Instagram. It said you got over 4 billion plays, 4 billion streams going down.
Pretty crazy, yeah. Ever since I jumped on TikTok, started posting my beats and my music, people just been duetting them and sharing it, and yeah, okay. over 4 billion views.
Wow, that's crazy. Over 4 billion with a B, the big B, capital B, 4 billion views. And Cato has also been named as the king of the remixes and king of the what's that? The king of the thing on Instagram where they do the
remix challenges.
The remix challenges. That's huge. Because that's one of the first times that I saw you is kind of like saying there like, yo, go ahead and eat this beat, and you playing with a fire beat, and then you leave it open for people to jump on it. So let's just start there. Like, what prompted that movement to invite other people to just jump on your beats online, like through social media?
Yeah, so I got on TikTok probably around 2019, and I was kind of like everyone else. I didn't really know what to do as someone that makes music. Like back then, it was still widely known as an app where people do these dances, right? Like they do these kind of silly dances to songs, and that wasn't my thing for sure. So I was like, man, what am I gonna do? And I started to notice that people were using it to do those split screen reaction videos to other content, right? And I saw that and I was like, man, if I posted my beats on this app and just let people like rap on it, that could be a thing. Like, I don't see anyone else doing that. Yeah. So I started doing that, and it was like the 3rd or 4th beat that I posted was the beat that eventually became the So Pretty challenge, which went stupid viral. That one accounts for probably half of those 4 billion views just by itself. Wow. It became top 5 most viral sounds in the world on Spotify. Tyga jumped on the remix, and I got a ton of brand deals from that opportunity. So It was incredible, man. And I just kind of kept running with it. And then eventually, the funny part is Instagram then reached out to me because they were about to launch remixes on their platform, which was like the competitor to TikTok's Duet. And so we did a partnership, and I was part of the remix launch on Instagram. So that's when they kind of named me the king of remix challenges, and just went up from there, man. It's been crazy.
Yo, that's dope, man. And I love seeing trajectories like this, because like I feel like your overnight success story on like when that one video went viral, like it's always it's not linear, right? Success is like, it's like this, and then one day, like, you know what I'm saying, you up here, but it's a long road to this, right? Yeah. Was it like that for you? Because I feel like if you want to, do you remember what your follower count was before like that first viral moment, and then like days after that, like where you jumped to from where you started, and then like within a couple of days, I'm sure you saw like huge growth?
Yeah, it was massive. I mean, I think I might have had maybe 1,000 followers on TikTok
Yeah.
before the So Pretty challenge, and I probably gained 150 to 200,000 followers within a month. It
Yeah.
was insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've literally seen it happen, and I love that. My wife, she a singer and songwriter. She been doing stuff on Instagram and TikTok for a long time, and then one day she had also a viral hit that just went viral, started getting millions and millions of plays, and I was like, look. I told you that consistency pays off. Like for so
Yeah.
long, it just feel like you might be like at a keep hitting the ceiling like damn like nothing is getting through, but I think it speaks to the consistency and the passion behind what you do, that eventually if you keep at that steady, that steady work and keep chipping away, it'll eventually open up some major doors for you. Is that kind of what your whole 10 years, overnight success is 10 years in the making, is that kind of what your whole like kind of branding style is built off of right now?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, bro, that's really been the story of my entire career. Cause, I
Yeah.
started making beats back in 2006.
Okay.
Um, so it's been well over 10 years for me. And
Hmm.
even when the So Pretty stuff happened on TikTok, like I had already been in the game producing records with artists. I was signed to an independent label called Funk Volume,
Yeah.
which, I got to work with Hobson, Dizzy, Jaron. Like I was part of that whole crew and that whole come up. And uh after that whole situation, we all kind of parted and went our own ways and had to figure out our own individual paths to what's the next thing, what's
Yeah.
after this, what's life after Funk Volume. And it's different for producers, man. Like, producers might have their moments or might have a record that takes off. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you as an engineer can relate to this. It's like, because so much of what we do is behind the scenes in the
Yeah.
studio, people don't get to always see the work that you do, the work that you put in, and then these moments happen. But you got to kind of, I feel like this day and age, you got to figure out how to leverage those moments into building your own brand if you want those opportunities to keep happening. And that's what I had to figure out after Funk
Yeah.
Volume.
Yeah. So what year did Funk Volumes start to kind of disintegrate,
So I signed in I want to say 2012.
Yeah.
And it went until about 2014, somewhere in 2014, 2015,
Okay.
around then. So it kind of fell apart after that. And, it's pretty well documented how that whole thing happened.
Yeah.
Um, Basically, the two co-owners of the label, Hobson and Dame, had a big falling out, and that just caused the whole thing to fall apart
Yeah.
pretty much overnight. So
Mm.
it was a big, it was pretty devastating for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Because at that point we had just signed a partnership with Warner Music, and we had built this huge fan base, and we were touring, and things were looking on the up and up. And then just all of a sudden, poof, overnight, it just
Yeah.
disappeared. So um, yeah, so for about 2 years, it was pretty crazy ride.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like a roller coaster because when you're a producer, you're ultimately an entrepreneur. You're
Yeah,
not getting a 9 to 5. You're not necessarily guaranteed a check or a next gig. I mean,
right.
so where did you find yourself like financially, and how did you cope during that time of trying to find the next thing for yourself?
Bro, it was tough, man. I was broke even after Funk Volume. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions is when fans or when people see that you're making these moves and you're working with these artists and you're touring and doing these records, that doesn't always equate to the monetary side of it,
Yeah.
because artists may have signed a deal with a a major label, and the label is taking the majority of, or recouping the earnings that you got during the advance, you know? So you're not
Yeah.
seeing this money on the back end from your record sales and that kind of thing, and your streaming. And as producers, like I can't necessarily tour, you know. If I have a hit
Right.
record as a producer that gets tens of millions of streams, that's great for the artist, but do people most of the time even know who produced those records are? You know, and that's the
Yeah.
challenge of being someone who works behind the scenes, like the engineer or the producer or the songwriter. You have to start to build your brand and put yourself in front of the music so that you can have some of these opportunities that the artists have. And so I really, really started to work on that after Funk Volume, because I realized that that's what I was missing. I was
Yeah.
missing the branding side of it. Like, I was in the studio making all these records with artists, but most people still didn't know who I was. So I took those next couple years to really, really start to build my brand online, on Instagram, on TikTok. And
Yeah.
that's when you start to see the momentum shift.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at your presence online, it seems very like manicured and curated, like thought out, planned. Everything that you're doing, like you're executing at a high level. I just want to know, my question for that is like, what training or where did you learn to do this, or is it just like trial and error for you? Was there some what was the guide that got you to this level on, like, as far as your marketing sense, right?
Yeah. It was a lot of trial and error, bro. A
Yeah.
lot of trial and error, just trying things, seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, most of the time things don't work. But I think I've learned more in those moments when something doesn't work than the times that something did work.
Mhm.
So even still to this day, I'm testing things all the time. And as far as the marketing and the branding stuff, I learned a lot of that from the artists that I was around, you know, especially on the independent level. I feel like all the great ideas and the marketing strategies, and even things like posting, you know, clips of your music on TikTok and doing these open verse challenges, that all starts from independent artists, like at the ground level, at the
Yeah.
grassroots level, because that's how they engage with their audience and their fans. So me being around so many of those artists, I was just looking at what they were doing, and I was like, how can I take what they're doing and apply it to what I'm doing? And that's really how, you know, I learned a lot of these things.
That's dope, man. Because I feel like you got it together. And at this point, have you found the need, because social media can be so demanding, especially once you're public facing, and also you're offering services, which I think you just did something super smart recently and went to a offer based kind of
Yeah.
services model. I'm like, yo, that's genius. And it really, I'm gonna go to a whole nother tangent. I saw your post about doing that, right?
Yeah.
And I was working with a client that was doing a mix for him. And this is a client I've worked with several times before. It's been like a couple years though since I worked on this last project, but then we just worked on a project we was finishing up. And then he was like, yo, I want to send you some money. How much do I need to send you? I was like, send me whatever you think it's worth. And this was after it was
Mm,
done. I just said, I had your thing in the back of my head. I said, you know what? Just send me whatever you think is worth. And literally I got paid the most I had ever got paid for a mix by doing that. The
yeah.
most I
Wow.
ever got paid for doing a mix is because I literally just said, you know what, just send me what you think it's worth.
There you go.
And to me, I'm like, damn, maybe I'm undercutting myself when I put a charge out. And I'm sure you probably see some of that similar kind of
Yeah.
thing since you started this kind of
Offer base.
the offer based services. Have you been seeing that the offers are maybe higher than what you would have charged, or how are you finding that kind of balance?
Yeah, so here's my whole thought behind it, and shout out to LaRussell, because I
Uh-huh.
think, you know, without artists like LaRussell setting a lot of the precedents for stuff like that, you know, like I said, I pay attention to what independent artists do, and I figure out a way to make it work for myself, right?
Yeah.
Um, but my whole thing is like, you can have a feeling of what you think you're worth, right? Like I
Hmm.
can think that a custom beat from me is worth 5 grand, let's say,
Yeah.
right? But is that is are you worth that all the time? Like if you are sitting in an airport terminal waiting for your flight, right? And just kind of burning time so that you can jump on this plane and go back home.
Yeah.
Is your time worth the same as it would be if you had 100 things going on in your day at the same time?
Hmm.
Usually not, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm sitting in an airport terminal just waiting for my flight and someone offers me 200, $300 to give them some quick feedback on their music, to me, that's worth it. Now, if I have 20 things I'm trying to do at the same time, then my time is more limited then.
Yeah.
So nobody's time is worth what you think it is 24/7. Like there are times
Mm.
throughout the day, my whole goal is I'm just trying to maximize every opportunity cost throughout my day
Hmm.
24/7. I'm just trying to maximize the opportunity cost of squeeze every minute of my day and make it count the most. So that's my whole thought behind the offer based thing because and it's been going amazing. Like people have
Yeah.
been sending all kinds of different offers. Some people offer $1,500, $2,000 for, a consultation. And then
Mm.
other people offer $1. I've literally gotten $1 offers. And
And then
and
what'd you do with
I mean
that?
I mean it went straight into the trash, but like that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it is that people can send what they think it's worth and
Right.
I can evaluate it from there and see if it's worth my time.
Yeah. I love that. I love kind of open the doors up to allow people to put their label on what they think is worth. But especially, I think that's key. Our audio engineers can really steal that. Now,
Yeah,
some people obviously would take advantage of it, but that's why you kind of got to vet them,
of
before
course.
you get into the session. Because if I'm gonna book a session with somebody, like, hey, what's your hourly rate? Well, what do you want to pay?
Yeah,
And or telling them that, hey, what do you think is worth, and putting it back into the artist's hands, giving them the responsibility of saying, hey, well, either I really, really believe in myself, really believe on what I'm about to do here in the studio, or I'm not really sure about it and I don't think it's gonna be worth that much, right? And there's a lot because I used to use that similar kind of like language if I ever had problems with pricing with somebody, right? I would, just
yeah,
say, hey, like, look, you concerned about spending $100 an hour when it's like, what do you plan on doing with this, right? So if
yeah,
it take you, $600 to make this song, you could potentially make $60,000 off of it or more. So it's all about what your plans are and what you the value that you can actually squeeze out of it. So I love
yeah.
that approach, and it might be something I start implementing more.
You should, bro. I think I mean, I don't and you tell me if this is different for you, but I don't
Yeah,
know a single producer, engineer, songwriter that doesn't have multiple hustles, like multiple revenue streams, you know?
yeah,
Like they all sell a service, a
yeah,
product, merch, do shows, they all tour. Like there's multiple things that they do. No one is just sitting at home collecting royalty checks and living off of that 24/7.
yeah,
Like I'm sure there are someone somewhere in the world that is
yeah.
doing that, but 99% of them are doing multiple things. Even the legends that I see, like I follow E40, I follow Snoop Dogg, like I
Hmm.
follow all these entrepreneurs that
Yeah.
have started with music as being their main thing and then they expand and they build empires and businesses and that's what it's
Mm.
all about to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think music is a great marketing tool. It's a great way to let people like kind of know who you are. Once you get those eyes on you, then what you do with that attention is anything. And same thing with social media. Like it's a marketing thing. Once people start looking at you, looking at your page, now what you gonna do? How can you capitalize off of that?
Yeah.
And that brings me to a question I was thinking earlier. I think I have an idea of what the answer is, but I definitely want to hear like what your explanation is. Like, does that viral moment, does that, those streams, whether that's like Billboard streams or TikTok streams, whatever it is, does that equate to dollars as simply as that? Or is there a lot more legwork that needs to be happening? Or is there like what is the approach to making that equate?
Yeah, I so my answer is yes and no.
Mhm.
It depends.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a
for
famous.
s
That's every engineer's answer for anything. If you ever ask an engineer anything, he should always start off with saying, "It depends."
It depends. It depends.
Yeah.
Uh, so with the So Pretty moment, it definitely did, and
Okay.
we were looking at that as like, we knew the shot clock was running down because once we started to see it go viral on TikTok, just organically, we knew that we had to record a full record, put the song out, and kind of funnel that attention the to Spotify, to the streaming, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And it was a process with the negotiation because eventually, once something catches on TikTok, um, the labels start calling. So the
Mm-hmm.
labels started hitting me. They started hitting the artist. Her name is Rihanna. And so
Mm-hmm.
they started hitting Rihanna. And, a lot of people don't know this, but that was the first song that she had ever recorded in her life.
Yeah.
She was an 18-year-old girl from Australia,
Mm-hmm.
and she had never recorded a song in her life before. So I had to actually jump on a Zoom session like how we're doing now,
Mm-hmm.
set up a virtual recording session for her. So we made calls to Australia, like to where she was. We found a recording studio for her. We paid for the studio time, had her pull up, and I recorded the whole song with her over Zoom like
Wow.
this. And so we finished the song. Before we could even put it out, she had signed a record deal with
Ah.
Universal Republic.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Steven Victor scooped her up and signed her. And so that it it was a great situation, but it kind of complicated the negotiations a little bit
Right.
because anyone that really knows the business, they know that once a major label steps in, the negotiations change, right?
Yeah.
So uh originally the idea was to release the record as Kato on the Track and Rihanna Maria.
Mm.
Then when the major label came in, they were like, well, Kato isn't signed to us.
Exactly.
Like
They're like, who is who? Kate, we'll remake the
exactly.
beat if we need to.
They're like, you're the producer. You just made the beat.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, we're arguing like, no, this none of this would have even started if I didn't post the beat. Like,
Right.
you need the beat to put out this record. So
Mm-hmm.
we knew that we had leverage going into the situation, but at the same time, they didn't want me on the record. Like, they
Yeah.
didn't want to put my name on the record. They didn't want to feature me. They were willing to give me production credits and points on the record and publishing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So, we eventually settled for exactly that. I got points on the master. I got publishing on it. Um, I I sent them a pretty fat bill for the price of the beat. So they
Yeah.
paid me for the beat.
Yeah.
And we put it out. And those streams translated. I think now it's probably at close to 50 million streams on
Wow.
Spotify.
Nice.
I think they dropped the ball by not shooting a music video for it. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why they
Right.
didn't, but I think that would have exponentially grown the streams and just the attention. But since then, I mean, we've been doing a lot of sync.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a couple different Netflix shows and movies and films, so they're working the record and it's making money. But then there have been other situations where the streams haven't necessarily translated. So
Yeah.
I think it all depends on who the artist is, what they're doing to work the record. Is there a label behind it? You know, I know I always champion independence,
Mhm.
but I think there are situations where a major label can really pour more fuel on the fire and work a record, you know? So the So Pretty record is just in one example of that.
That's dope. My question, you know, and congrats on all of that. That's absolutely huge, you know, and how one record is like kind of shaping the future of your career at this moment, you know, and also opening up a lot of doors. For Rihanna, has having this viral hit record, has it translated to anything else in her catalog?
Um,
If
I
you know.
can't I can't really speak to what she has done since then. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
we still stay in touch, and I was just talking to her over DM the other day. But it's tough, man. Like
Hmm.
when you're an 18-year-old from Australia with zero experience in the music industry and you have a huge moment out the gate
Yeah.
like that, it's tough to follow up. Like, how do you top that? And maybe she's not even thinking about how to top So Pretty. Maybe she's just trying to go for the slow burn and
Hmm.
make great music and work on herself as an artist and evolve. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I believe she's still signed to Republic. So, you know, she still has great opportunities in front of her, and it's just a matter of what she wants to do.
Nice. So when you had to get into those kind of negotiations with the record label, did you go and hire an attorney? Did you kind of talk on your own behalf? Like, what was that process like? Because a lot of producers haven't reached that level yet to where they need to start having these conversations, and a lot
Yeah.
of times that first big opportunity is where so many people get burnt.
Yeah.
And then it leaves a real bad taste in their mouth from the industry. So, like, what's your recommendations, and what did you find worked for you as you were entering this major label process and negotiations?
Man, that's a great question. Bro, I feel so lucky that I had a team at that moment when all of that stuff happened.
Yeah.
You know, my business partner, Ben James, his business partner, Billy Mann, like these guys are well established in the music industry. They have a lot of connections, like
Hmm.
multi platinum records. So
Okay.
you know, they connected me with one of the best lawyers in the game, Josh Kamen, and he came in and really kind of helped steer the negotiations and get the best possible deal for me. So if I was just by myself, bro, I w- I would have not known the first thing to do.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't have gotten the best deal for myself either. So having the right people in your corner is super, super important for those moments.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely key. And I feel like most people kind of understand that, but it's like, you know, my man Ben, he in Omaha, you know.
Yeah.
How does he find the right people? You know, I'm sure it's not an entertainment lawyer in this neighborhood that
Yeah.
can help him in a situation like this. Like, what do you have any advice, or you know, on finding and connecting with these people that could be in your corner when you need them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had people all the time slide in my DMs and be like, yo, Kato, I'm going through these negotiations with this
Hmm.
label, or this person wants to sign me. What should I do? And I have no problem, you know, shooting them contact for my attorney or attorneys that I know that work with independent artists and
Okay.
producers and songwriters. Like, that's the first thing I would do is I
Yeah.
would slide in Wavy Wayne's DMs. I would slide in my DMs or anyone that I follow on social media that I kind of trust,
Yep.
and just ask them like, do you know any lawyers, any attorneys, someone that could help me out with this situation? And that's the first place I would start. I think just connecting with people virtually.
Yeah. And we're so lucky these days to be able to just reach out to literally anybody
Man,
and do a cold call and
yes.
you shoot your shot. You got to shoot the shot because you never know. You probably get a response. You might not, but a
Yeah,
lot of times you'll get a response. Especially I find though that if I'm a response to somebody, depending on the question or whatever, like I might go and check out your profile, right? Have you ever done this?
yeah,
Like, if your profile look like, oh, you a serious artist or a serious producer, and this stuff might be happening, you're not just about to waste my time. So I
yeah,
think like having your own stuff in order first, before you kind of reach out, so that if they do go and check your temperature, check your background,
yeah.
there's something to stand on. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm definitely much more conscious of that now because, everyone's time is valuable, bro. Like,
yeah,
the last thing you want to do is waste time with someone who's not serious about it. So,
yeah.
even, with the offer-based services that I do, I asked everyone for their Instagram. So I go check them out on Instagram. If they ask me for a collab, right, that's something to take into consideration. Like, if you offer me a price on a collab that I feel like is kind of my under my typical rate,
Yeah.
then I'm gonna go check you out first and be like, is this person serious? If I do a collab with them, do I feel like they're gonna push it? Do I feel like there's something to be gained on the back end to make up for the kind of lower rate on the front end?
Yeah.
So absolutely, it's like that's your resume. That's like your portfolio to me, your social
Mhm.
media, your Instagram. If I go to your Instagram and I see that you haven't posted since last year, bro,
Exactly.
I can't take you seriously. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're just not putting in the same amount of work that I am or anywhere close to it. And so it's probably not worth my time.
Yeah. And I definitely see that you are putting in a lot of work. So being a producer, you're an educator, you're a
Yeah.
marketer. I'm sure you building out a lot of systems and stuff on your own, like kind of being an entrepreneur. Like there's so much hands-on stuff from websites and everything
Yeah.
else, the forms and everything, handling emails. Um, how do you find time to kind of balance that? Do you like, is there a schedule for you, or do you just kind of wake up in the morning and do what you feel like you need to do?
It's a little, I mean, some days is a little bit of both, but
Yeah.
I prioritize. I figure out, okay, what is it that needs to be done that is going to move the needle on this project or, the things that we're working on right now? What's on my plate right now that we need to create a system for, that I need to
Mhm.
find help for. And I kind of start from there. So if there are certain things that I can delegate to my assistant, um, then I'll kind of circle up with her and kind of come up with a strategy and a game plan. And then I have my business partner, right? So it's like I have people in my corner that are there to help me. No one can do it 100% by themselves. You hit a ceiling of how much you can do by yourself. And then
Yeah.
you end up stretching yourself too thin, and then you don't have time. And then you're not really doing any one thing great. You're just doing everything mediocre, you know? And
Oh,
that's the
for sure.
last situation that you want to find yourself in. So I think finding help, hiring help, even if it's an assistant, like you
Yeah.
have Big Ben, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Like I'm sure he takes a lot of the important like admin things or emails, like he frees up your time in that way.
Absolutely.
Even having someone like that is super, super helpful.
I absolutely hate emails, man. So like
Yeah.
I can't stand it. And I again, another thing I saw on your page is showing how bad you are at DMs, replying to the D.
Yeah.
I'm the worst person at replying to DMs, comments. Like I made a post yesterday, and I literally forgot that I even made the post. I went back, it had like 40 comments. I'm like, oh, I should reply to those or something. Like they probably think I'm a jerk. But
It's
like
a
I'm
lot,
literally the
bro.
worst, man. I'm like, yeah, there's so much. I'm like, look, I got to get this post up. All right, that's done. Move on to the
Yeah.
next thing.
I
And so
mean,
yeah, it
even
is a lot.
I'm sure you know this from being on TikTok or being on YouTube and social
Mhm.
media and creating content. Like
Yeah,
even just balancing content with actually like mixing and engineering in your craft,
yeah,
that in itself can be a whole nother job.
yeah,
So you got to kind of like figure out the right balance for you. And what works for me, what works for you may be different from someone else that's watching this or listening right now. So
yeah.
it's all about knowing what you want from this and kind of understanding that first and approaching it from that standpoint.
Yeah, I like that. You know, when you open up on that question, you said it's all about prioritizing,
Yeah.
and I think that's true. Like, you know, what's going to move the needle? What's the big stuff that we can tackle or that should be tackled? And then, you know, everything else, once there's time, then it falls in line. Or like also hiring help, getting
Yeah.
assistance, getting other hands in the table so that things can continue to move. I think that's definitely huge.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, man, we've covered a lot. I want to know, like, do you prefer working in a home studio or commercial studios?
Man, that's a good question. I prefer my home studio because
Okay,
it's where I'm comfortable,
okay,
but I will book like commercial or outside studios if I'm working with someone new, like for the
yeah,
first time. Um, you know,
yeah, for
I don't
sure.
necessarily want to bring strangers over to my crib
Yeah,
uh to record for the first time. And plus, having an engineer at like a real professional recording studio means
mhm,
that I don't have to be sitting there like turning knobs and pressing buttons and tracking and that kind of thing. I want to be
mhm,
able to focus on like being a producer. So
yeah,
sometimes just having an engineer, having an extra hand that knows what they're doing, like is a huge help. So both.
yeah. So when you say you want to focus on being a producer during the recording session, the tracking session, how is that different? Like, show me what that looks like, because I know a lot of beat makers might just say, "Oh yeah, I'm a producer. I emailed the MP3 over to the artist. They rapped on it." Is that a producer to you, or is that a beat maker? And then, what does being a producer in the studio look like in your words?
I think producers can also be beat makers,
Okay.
but I don't think beat makers can be producers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
It don't necessarily mean that you're a producer because you're a beat maker.
exactly. If you just make beats, that doesn't automatically make you a producer. Now, if you're a
Mhm.
producer, nine, almost 10 times out of 10, at least in hip hop and, popular genres, you made the beat, but you can also like kind of help direct the artist. You're basically creating the vision of what the artist wants to make a song out of. And so that
Yeah,
to me is the producer and that can mean a lot of things. Like you're assisting with the actual sonics and the sound of it or the arrangement of the track or the cadences and the delivery just kind of helping with the overall creation of the song or of the music. To me,
mhm,
that's what a producer does. They help the artist execute on their vision.
yeah,
So if you're able to do that, you know, like I always say, if you're in the studio with an artist and you can cook up a beat from scratch, like based on what the artist is telling you or giving you feedback on,
yeah,
you're a producer. Like you're helping to execute that vision
yeah.
without any sort of template or like already having a beat made.
Hmm.
Uh so if you're able to execute on that vision, then you're a producer to me.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I kind of see myself as a producer who
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
engineers.
Mhm.
I like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a producer who makes beats. I'm a
Yeah.
producer who also engineers. And
Yeah.
so like kind of tying those things, but like I always find that like first like in my heart when I think about like what it is that I do and what I love to do is like I love like bringing the record to life and helping the artists. I love being in sessions with new artists and giving them the direction and the inspiration and courage to, get their feelings out in front of the microphone by, telling them the right things or helping their delivery or, whatever it is in those aspects. So like that's, to me, that's my favorite part of the job as an audio engineer.
Yeah.
And that's, the production part.
Bro, engineers to me are the most underappreciated role, at least on the creative side
Yeah.
of music. Like great engineer like yourself or the ones that I work with, they give you input in the studio. They tell you when you need to recut something or how to sing it or rap it better or how to inflect your voice on this part. Like if you do that as an engineer, to me, you deserve points on the publishing. Like you deserve to get royalties on the back end because you're a producer at that point. Like the
Yeah.
songwriters that I work with, they're producers because they are in the studio helping to direct the whole orchestration of like how things sound, you
Yep.
know? Um, Now, if you're a producer that just presses record and does whatever is asked of you, then that's a different thing. And I have respect for that role too.
Yeah.
But I think engineers are very, very underappreciated, man. It's such a thankless job that y'all do.
Well, I appreciate you for seeing that in us. It
Yeah.
means a lot. Um,
Shed a
but
thug tear.
you remind me of something that Gerald Keys, one of
Yep.
your friends, he
Yep.
mentioned this at Mixnick, which I think was a super important tip for anybody. And so if you miss Mixnick, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a glimpse for it here. Basically, what he was saying is that after a session is done, he likes to send a split sheet in the email, and basically he'll preface it saying, "Hey, this is how I think the split should go." And this is coming from a producer, a songwriter, and all. He would say, "Hey, I think this is how the split should go. If you feel differently, reply to this message and let's talk about it." Right. So
Yeah.
that leaves the door to where, hey, if they don't reply, if they don't say anything, then it's kind of like this is it's kind of legally binding now, saying, hey, I sent you
Mhm.
this. You didn't reply to say that you felt like it was different. And
Yeah.
so like this is ultimately how the splits are going to go. I think that, and my idea sparked from that was that, hey, as engineers who produce on these records, we got at the end of every session, we got to send somebody the MP3 or the WAV file of the thing. Hey, if
True.
I produced on this, why not? Hey, here's how I think the splits should go as I'm emailing you this thing, and then give them the option. That way, at least you're not having an awkward conversation, and you're leaving them a chance to later kind of think about your actual input, and it's on record that you made a request to get some points on the record.
Yeah, I like that approach. I think a lot of people are scared to just have the conversation.
Yeah,
So, as someone that kind of takes the lead on it, I think
yeah,
it's a starting point for everyone, right? It kind of
yeah,
eliminates the pressure of having that conversation, or even worse, like having that conversation well after the record is done and released. Like that, you don't want that because
that's
that
the worst
changes
time.
the game, especially if the record is running up.
Yeah,
Like people are going to negotiate differently than when you just made it. So
yeah.
try to have that conversation earlier than later. And I like the approach of someone kind of taking the lead on that.
Yeah, because I always say, man, once the money is on the table, everybody
It's
did more
different.
than what they thought they did.
Yeah,
Everybody,
everyone wants a bigger piece of the pie then.
yeah, man, I wrote the whole song at this point. How much was that? Oh yeah, that definitely, you
Even the
know,
dude who jumped in there and did a quick ad lib, like he's gonna ask for
yeah.
50% of the record.
Like, man, you said D, and I told you to say duh. Like, come on, that's worth at least 10% of
Yeah,
this record,
exactly.
man. Man.
Exactly.
So before we jump off into your kind of hands-on and in a moment where we get to see you in action, I would love to just kind of know like give me your top 5 essential tools that you like just love to have. Like what do you have to work with? Top 5 things.
Are we talking
It
in the
it could be
studio, hardware,
hardware,
software?
software, it could be something, it could be a cup of coffee if you need it, whatever helps get you going. Software, hardware, anything else? What's 5 things that'll get Cato going?
Um, I've been kind of on this big health kick recently. So just trying to eat cleaner,
Yeah.
less less sugar, more balanced diet. So I'm on my super like health shit right now.
Okay.
So I would say number one, a lot of water, just like hella bottle water. Um,
Cheers to
number
that.
two, yeah, exactly. You see, I got
I
my
see you
Stanley Cup
sipping it.
here. I just drink two of these every single day. That's my
There you
goal.
go.
Um, number two, I would say, still got to have some snacks. If you
Okay.
get hungry in the studio, got to have some snacks.
What's your favorite snacks, man?
Um,
Right now, I know you're on your health vibe, but like, what's
yeah,
your go-to snacks?
I'm a big cookie guy.
All right, all right.
So if you're in Atlanta, there's this place called Yas Cookies, and they hands down they got the best cookies in Atlanta.
Man,
I don't care how many spots you've been to. Yes, Cookies got the best cookies in Atlanta.
see, I'm trying to be
So
on
I'd
my
have
health
some.
kick too, and now you driving me over to go get some cookies. Thanks.
Try it out. If you haven't had Yes Cookies, try them out, bro. They're super fire.
All right.
Um, some cookies. I don't know, maybe some Twizzlers, some Sour Patch Kids. You
Okay.
know,
Okay. So you
um,
got you got water, you got your snacks. What else
yeah.
you got?
Um, I definitely got some type of MIDI keyboard. You know,
Okay. What's your
grab.
go-to right now?
So this one is super easy to like just bring anywhere. It's the Microlab, just smart MIDI controller. I can put this in my backpack, keep it in
Yep.
my car. Like it doesn't take up a lot of room. And I like that it's got the USB cable like
Oh,
attached
that's
to it.
perfect.
Yeah. So I don't have
Yo,
to like go looking for a USB. So yeah, I take this everywhere. Um, what else? Is that three?
that's three. We got two
Four?
more.
I mean, I definitely got my MacBook Pro with me.
Okay. So you're not a PC guy. You're not the gamer PC guy.
Not a PC guy. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
good.
And then five,
Dun, dun. Maybe your DAW of choice, even though we're gonna learn that in a minute.
Reason.
Reason. All right.
Reason. Reason is coming to the studio with me.
All right. So that's a hefty five. So you got your water, your snacks, your
Yep.
MIDI keyboard, your MacBook Pro, and Reason. I think that's a good cook up package right there.
And the good vibes. Just bring the good energy.
Yeah. Maybe we can get a Cato bundle going on your website. You package all five of these things together and it's the Cato bundle, the producer pack.
Exactly. I need that sponsorship.
Word up. Hey, if we could get the Apple Cato Signature Series MacBook Pros,
That's what I'm saying.
let's go.
Yeah.
Oh man. So Cato, that's dope. Let's jump off into your project. I know you got a session and reason that you want to share and give us some gems and insights into your process. What you're gonna be sharing with us.
So, all right, let me share my screen.
Yep.
Um, so my new thing has kind of been like taking freestyles and flipping them into like my own remix. The first one I did was a ludicrous freestyle. So I follow Luda on Instagram, and one day I came across uh, just a quick 40-second freestyle that he did, and he posted it on his Instagram.
Yeah.
And he just had like a little beat playing in the background. Couldn't really hear it that well, but I was like, man, he's killing this shit. And
Yeah.
I know that if I put one of my beats on it, like it would be crazy. So
Yeah.
I took his freestyle, I basically ripped it, and then I ran it through uh, a a stem plugin platform. So it kind of stemmed out it isolated his vocals, basically took out all the background noise. So then I just had his raw vocals, and then from there I built a beat around it and posted it on my Instagram, and it went viral on TikTok. So it's been my new thing. Like, I just take these freestyles from artists and flip it and turn it into my own remix. So I did one for, I did this this Eminem one. Found this old freestyle from Eminem, and I flipped it. So this was the beat that I made. You want me to break it down, just kind of
Yeah,
like
if you can, yeah, go through like how you what was your process on that, on the beat making, yeah. So you started with extracting the vocals.
Exactly.
What's the name of the tool that you use for that?
So I used a platform called database.ai.
Okay.
So anyone can go to database.ai, and they have a bunch of like AI tools for producers and musicians. So I extracted the vocals, and this was the product of that. This is just the vocals on the freestyle.
Whoa, Nelly, tell Angelina Jolie I'm ready with petroleum jelly to smear it all over me belly. And tell her she can hit me on me mobile, me selly, and meet in the salami section of the grocery deli. And maybe... Right, so those are the vocals. You can still hear a little bit of the background, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
And then I went to TrackLib. TrackLib's been my go-to for a lot of like finding dope samples, like kind of obscure stuff that nobody really knows about. And I found this one sample by Tommy Bush called Some Leaving Alone. And I extracted these like parts of the samples from that song. So this was the first part. So I took that part, and then I took this part. So get on, get on, get on. And then this part. So basically I wanted to have as many different like pieces that I can kind of glue together and play with. That part was key. Like, yeah. I heard that and I was like, ugh. That part too. So I took all of those pieces, and you can see here on this track, I basically just kind of stitched them all together to create this. So get on, get on, get on.
Sped it up a little bit.
Sped it up.
That's nasty already.
Already got that bounce to it, right?
Yeah.
So took out a lot of the low end on it. Did a high pass filter at about 240 hertz. And then what else did I do to this? Put a gate on it. And then I've been using this plugin a lot. It's called Murder Melodies by Slate. And just gave it a little bit of like stereo width.
Okay.
And then after that, it was really just adding the drums and the bass. So we'll start with the drums. So snare, kick. That was open hi-hat,
Kato on the track,
a tag, and some toms. So I just wanted to come up with like a really simple kind of groove. Also keeping in mind, like, I already know what the freestyle sounds like. So I wanted to kind of fit, I wanted it to feel kind of open, but still have like a really dope kind of groove to it. So this is the drum track that I came up with. It really doesn't sound like shit, right? But added this hi-hat.
Well in that sample.
Yeah, exactly. Added a hi-hat to it here.
It's got a
right?
swing. It's got the swing.
It's got a swing. It's got just a cool bounce to it.
Yeah.
Um, and then to kind of like, I wanted that low end. I'm all about bass and low end, 808s. So
Yeah.
I wanted to add in a nice kind of like pluck bass to it.
Boom. Boom.
So
Boom.
exactly. So we went with this. Um,
Yeah.
right. So I found a bass note sample that I liked that had the kind of like texture that I like. It couldn't be too clean. I wanted it to sound a little bit like dirty and distorted. So I found this bass note sample, loaded it into Mimic, which is, if you use Reason, like this is one of my go-to samplers because you can do so much in Mimic. You can preserve the transients even if you like time stretch, right? So with this one bass note, even if I go up, it preserves the transients and time stretches it at the same time.
Keeps that nice attack on there.
Exactly. So this is the bass line that I came up with. And just add the vocals.
Not a lipstick, none of them are twisted. Six of this, son of a 666. Broke his crucifix made out of sticks that fixed it. Now play it backwards, muscle relaxers mixed with liquid. The lot of this diluted for quick fix. You're delusional, illusion look realistic.
That was it, bro.
That's lit, man. That's dope. I love how that came together. I know you made it off that freestyle. Like, do you then like take that beat and post it up and make it available for other people to kind of jump on it?
Yeah, my bad. Was getting some
You
feedback there. Yeah, I really just wanted to do it for socials because obviously there's like certain legal things you have to get it cleared if you want to put it on streaming services. So I just created a SoundCloud playlist. It's not monetized, but I just put it up there for people. When they're in the gym getting their workout on, they can run through that playlist and have some music. But yeah, it was really just for the content and posting it on socials.
Yeah, I mean, I know you got the sample. I mean, if you just mute the Eminem vocals and then that could be a track right there that somebody else could just come with a fresh song on. I think that's really dope.
Yeah, bro. So that's also part of my strategy is like, artists get to post their music in so many different creative ways on socials, right? And I wanted to find a way to do that as a producer. Like, as producers, why can't we do that with our beats? Why can't we find creative ways to share our beats with everyone in different like types of content? So it's like I use this beat, right? I cook up this beat, I use it as like a piece of content for these freestyle series, and then I take that same beat, I put it in my beat store so that people can lease it from me. And so now it's like monetized, right? And then I can take the same beat and do an open verse challenge on TikTok and on Instagram. So now they're hearing the same beat over and over. And, I'm funneling that traffic back to wherever people want it. Like if they're not an artist, they can go listen to it on SoundCloud on the Eminem remix, right? If they're an artist and they want to drop some bars on it, they can duet it on TikTok or on Instagram. Or if they want to make a song out of it, they can go to my beat store, they can cop the lease and drop their own song. So there's at least 3 or 4 different ways that I'm presenting the same product so that I can maximize its potential.
That's dope, man. Thank you for sharing that. If you want to stop the screen share now, awesome.
Sure.
Yeah. So my question here, and I'm gonna just be a little selfish here. If you were an engineer,
Yeah.
What would be some ways that you might approach doing a similar technique, right? Finding ways to kind of expose your art and put it out on the internet. What would you, if I just put you on the spot?
Man, if I was an engineer,
Hmm.
um, it's funny because I've had this conversation with one of my engineers before, Dakota,
Uh-huh.
uh, and you know, he asked me a very similar question, and my answer would be really the same. Like share music that you have had a creative hand in. Like
Yeah.
break down the process. It really comes down to like who do you want your audience to be? Like who are you targeting? Are you targeting other engineers, other
Yeah.
musicians, artists, producers, or just casual fans? You know, a lot of times I think creative people sleep on the fact that normal fans would find what they do interesting, right? Because
Hmm.
we're so like obsessed with the technical side of our creative process that we forget that we can break this down in a really simple way and the average music fan would find it really interesting, right? So I always try to keep that in mind of like basic storytelling skills. How can I take this record that I engineered and turn it into a story, a really
Mm.
simple story that anyone can understand? Um, so I think if you do that as an engineer, there are so many different ways that you can figure out to tell stories in your creative process or your journey as an entrepreneur and as an engineer and your come up experiences that you had. Maybe they were funny, maybe they were motivating, maybe they were inspiring. Um, or just like nerding out and breaking down like the really technical parts and pieces of what you do as an engineer, or maybe it's a combination of all those things, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I think storytelling is the one like through line that a lot of creative people should just try to keep in mind, especially producers and engineers.
I love that storytelling. That's the big thing. Everything
That's
is
it.
about story.
Exactly.
Yeah, and getting people to find their place in your story or find their place in the
Yeah.
story you're telling. It really helps to kind of bring them in and make them connect with what's going on.
Yeah, and that comes so much more intuitively for artists, right? Because literally what they're doing is telling a story with their voice. So of course people are going to connect with that the easiest, right? But as a
Mhm.
producer, like we tell a story through the music, but it's not as apparent as someone telling stories with their words. So
Mm.
then we have to figure out other ways to communicate that to the regular music fan,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of an extra step, but I think if you figure that out, like you're really onto something.
Yeah, Cato, thank you so much for your time. Before we get out of here, I got two more things that I want to get out of you. One first, like what projects are you working on right now, or what offers do you have that you want everybody out there to know about and be aware of? Let's start there.
So I have some pretty big things lined up. I'm taking the whole idea of like the open verse challenges and the duets, which a lot of people just kind of know me for now. And I'm gonna take that to the next level. Like I'm trying to Mr. Beast that shit,
Yeah.
like offer life-changing prizes
Yeah.
for my open verse challenges
Hmm.
and opportunities, right? Like how
I'm about to get my
crazy
bars together
that's what I'm saying, bro.
then.
Like, I'm really trying to Mr. Beast this shit. And like, how crazy would it be if I got E40 on a hook and
Hmm.
people could open verse it and they would win a song with E40, or
Yeah.
Paul Wall or any of these artists that I'm working with? Like, I think that would be incredible, or a $50,000 cash prize,
Yeah.
um,
That would
so
help.
I'm trying to take that to the next level, working on a lot of plays with that. Um,
Hmm.
Working on my own music, my own projects, working on a lot of like side projects with other artists, collab EPs, doing more of those, and just really, just trying to take shit to the next level.
Yeah. What's the next stops on your Sound Advice tour? I love how you set that up where, you know, different producers and artists, anybody just like an enthusiast of the music production can get in a studio with you, get some feedback, get some hands-on tips, do some meeting and greeting. Is there any planned stops for that?
We're planning a complete overhaul of the Sound Advice tour. So in the
Okay.
past, like I would go city to city. It kind of be more like panel style where I go up there, invite a couple special guests, and we talk about the music business. People get to ask questions. But my goal has always been to do something more engaging and interactive for people, you know,
Hmm.
something that they can take away tangibly from the event and
Yeah.
like it really helps their career in a way, whether it's content or music or a collaboration. I want people to come to my Sound Advice events and
Hmm.
take away something tangible. So instead of just getting advice, we're working on taking the live experience to the next level of like, yo, you can pull up to the Sound Advice tour and you can literally get a collab with me. Like you can literally get a content, um, get content from the event.
Hmm.
You can get, you know, collab opportunities with other people there. You can get an interview with me. You can post that as content on your socials. Like
Hmm.
I want it to be more engaging and interactive. So we're working on that. That's the next big like thing that we're trying to do, hopefully by the end of this year, but if not at the top of next year.
Okay, that's dope, man. Dope, Kato, man. And then the last thing, I was just everybody just tell everybody where they can find you, follow you if they not already hip, if they've been asleep somewhere. Tell them where to wake up.
At Cato Producer on all platforms, Kato Producer, all one word. Wayne, Big Ben, appreciate you guys. This is truly like a dope platform that y'all have built, and I'm
Yeah,
just a fan of like connecting with other people who are doing dope things. So I love what you guys are doing. Keep doing it any way that I can support. Reach out, let me know, and we got to connect too.
definitely do, man. We got a whole lot of work to do now. I'm in your city, you know. You the
Yeah.
king around here. I'm here now, so look, feel free to lean on me. Anything you need, I'm here. I definitely appreciate you taking the time out to share your
Yes,
wisdom, your experience, your knowledge with us, and your time too, man.
absolutely.
Because I know you got offers waiting right now, so I'm gonna let you get back to them.
My man, I appreciate you, bro. We'll keep in touch.
Right on, Kato. I'll talk to you in a minute.